Hey, what's up everyone, Red Zone Gaming here, and today I noticed not a lot of Doom modders know how to make hitboxes for their enemies. So I thought, to start, let's have a look at the jarbled 10,000 line long sentence that is Brutal Doom. Now, I say this because, well, Mark is not too fond of organizing his code in a way that is efficient enough to be read and understood well by others. But, it is still possible, and that's what this video will be mainly about. So let's start off by looking at the headsys text file. This file contains all the headshot hitboxes. Let's scroll down a bit past the headshot target base. Now we see some headshot target actors. If you notice, they each have varying length spawn states, meaning that each of them stay active for a different length of time. Why is that? Well, let's look at the zombieman file. If you look closely, you see that after a specific number of frames, a hitbox is spawned. And if you notice, between these frames there's an action that the zombieman performs, and after that action the hitboxes have to be updated to remain accurate. So now let's look at the headshot system I have set up, as it is more organized and maybe even easier to understand. If you look at the hitbox code, we can see it's basically a monster that doesn't move and doesn't attack, and when it dies it deals damage or kills the enemy it was spawned from. Keep in mind that it does these things by using damage of type headshot. Why does it use a specific damage type? Well, let's open the ZDoom wiki to understand what specific damage types can be used for. So what this says is basically a damage type can be used to call custom states resulting in that damage. For example, if we have a plasma gun that shoots plasma of damage type plasma, we can create a death state in the enemy named death.plasma. And when the enemy dies from being hit by plasma balls, we can have the enemy die in a different way than its default death state. So now with that in mind, let's look at the enemy code for hitbox spawning, and as you can see it's fairly simple. It's a lot of code, but it's mostly the same thing repeated. Wait 4 frames, then spawn a hitbox. Now let's put a sprite on the hitboxes for debugging purposes and start the game. Now if we try to shoot the imp's hitbox, you will notice its custom death state. It spawns a head, then plays a custom animation. So overall, it's a pretty simple and effective technique. Make a hitbox that stops after a certain number of frames, and spawn it in between each enemy action. But make sure to get the X and Y spawn values correct though. And for that, I highly recommend placing a temporary sprite on the hitbox. Now, when the hitbox is killed, deal damage to the enemy that spawned it, using the damage master function. Also be sure to give it a custom damage type for your headshot animations. And that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and this is the first video that I actually wrote a script for, so sorry if it sounds like I'm reading things just straight from what I wrote, because that is what I'm doing. If you have any questions about the video, be sure to leave them in the comments, and I'll reply as soon as I can.